All right, thank you guys. I just want to say thank you guys for coming, especially in the afternoon. I know how it is, especially after lunch like that. So I'm Kell Rozman. I'm a senior manager for Toyota North America headquarters. I'm going to talk to you today about some of the analytics and automation and some of the cool cybersecurity stuff we do to help secure both the vehicles, the enterprise, and manufacturing. And so kind of what I'm going to go over is I'm just going to talk about what's driving Toyota to make this investment in cybersecurity, look at what the environment, what do we have to deal with. I'm going to look at some of the security engineering activities we've kicked off in order to help secure and harden our infrastructure, as well as look at the actual analytics and automation. And then finally, with the retrospective, I want to show like an actual live example that we had. It made the news. APT32 had hacked Toyota, and everything that I show you here was in play, and it was allowed us to be able to detect and respond and repel them and have no impact to the North American region. So who am I? Some of you guys know me. I've been here in Toyota. I used to work for Centaur here locally. Come on, my background, I oversee the cloud security, application security, red team, security analytics, and automation for Toyota. I also do the cloud security globally for all of Toyota as well. I've been doing cybersecurity for over 12 years now. A lot of big data analytics, former BR&T Boeing Research Technology, Lockheed person as well. So I came from the defense side, shifted to the commercial side. So kind of, why Toyota? Why do we need to change? We've made cars, we're very successful. Why do we need to change? And the big issue is our competitors are new. We're now competing against Google. We compete against Amazon. Apple. Frankly, Waymo. All of the Uber, all the self-driving. They flat out tell us we want you to be a hardware supplier to us. Like they want us to be the Samsung, where we provide them the car, they do all the software integration. And so not only do we have to compete with the GMs, the Fords, the Volkswagens of the world, we now have to compete with these technology companies. The other thing is you guys see on the news all the time, people are hacking cars. They're posting about it. There's a lot of that kind of information. Toyota's very focused on reliability and durability and reputation. It's a Japanese company. They want to save face. They don't want bad things to be in the news about them. So they view cybersecurity as on par with reliability or durability, and so they made that investment to ensure that the cars are built. The other thing too is with all the new connected cars, we know that services will become a bigger thing, and we know that with all the stuff in the news with big tech, people have concerns about privacy and security, and we know that we have to take that seriously because a car isn't a 1 to 2 year purchase like a phone, or it's it could be a 10-year. We legally have to warranty a car for up to 20 years and have parts availability for that long. So we know if we do this mobility space, we have to be able to support it. So kind of going over why we care about cybersecurity, there is several hacks. I mean, Jeep, Tesla, Nissan, BMW, Chevy, they've all been hacked. There's been high profile, there's been cars stolen off these hacks. So we know with 2021 or end of 2020 is when our first connected vehicle, if you will, goes online. We have some stuff now, but the kind of the next gen where they offer services, that comes online by end of December. So we know we sell about 1 to 2 million cars per year, so we know that just continues to exponentially grow every year. And so the infrastructure has to be in place before then. It has to be reliable, it has to be scalable. Nobody wants to start their car and then have a PKI expire and you can't go anywhere. That can't happen. So we have to make sure that that's all robust in order to be secure as you drive. And so how we do this is Toyota's well known for Kaizen, continuous improvement. We are, we first look at what the business is. We're just traditionally an automaker, and now we're becoming this mobility, we're becoming connected. We're good at hardware engineering. We're not really good at software engineering or cybersecurity. And so we're having to learn how to incorporate that into the business. The other thing we realized too is if you connect a car to the enterprise now is a target. Well, the enterprise historically has been the target, but manufacturing, in order to improve manufacturing, they're connected to the enterprise. So now you could technically go from a car to the enterprise to the manufacturing or of any of those 3 orders. So we need a way to, security can't just be in the car, we have to secure the enterprise. And we have to secure manufacturing. And so we recognize that pretty early on. And so the platform I'm going to go through is to help be able to respond and harden those environments. The other thing too is we have to be agile. We don't have years to just sit around and figure this out. We have to get it out now because our competitors are connected. I mean, Audi and Volkswagen, the Volkswagen group already has a lot of stuff. Chrysler has a lot of really good. Uconnect, it's very, very good. Google, Android Auto and Apple Play, they actually take over the infotainment center and take all the information. So they actually already carve out all the data and all the usage and don't give that to us, the automaker. So we already have that in the space. When you use XM radio, it's the same thing. They take all the data, we don't get any of that. So in order for us to be able to provide that level of service, we need to be able to carve that out and take that over. And so basically what we're saying here is we want to be able to move quickly, get the environment secure, and then keep it secure. And there's a lot of different things. The other big thing we have is 2020 Olympics is coming. It's hosted in Tokyo. Everybody gets hacked. We're a major supplier, the major sponsor, and every one of them has been hacked. They all make the news, so we know we have to really ramp up to be prepared for that. So that's what's driving Toyota to make this investment and change the environment. I'm going to talk a little bit about the different pieces. In the manufacturing, you have the traditional IT space. So you have the PC, tablets, all the kind of the enterprisey, the very common stuff you can put. You can put an antivirus on it. You can put endpoint. You can put firewalls. You can do all those cool things. However, the OT, the operational technology, the plants, the robots, they all use embedded operating systems from 2000 or earlier. You can't even scan the network without it crashing. So how do you handle that? And that's been our big challenge in this space, is that all of these traditional tools that exist don't really play in this space. And so what we've had to do is become very, very creative in the sense of we want to do things like subnetting, but then I'll show you in my next slide why that can be really, really hard to do. So we've come up with custom-made IDSs that will allow traffic in. However, when it scans, it'll allow the beacon traffic to go through, so then it won't drop whatever the PLC is. It won't drop it. So we have some layers of protection without interfering with the plant. Kind of to give an example is this industrial control. It actually uses a turn knob, and you have to take it hexadecimal to convert it to decimal. And that is how your IP address is assigned. So subnetting is hard. Putting this DHCP doesn't work. So a lot of those traditional things, when people say, "Oh, just subnet off the plants," are you going to do that? You're going to do that for the thousands of machines in there? You make a change, and you're going to send somebody on the floor to do that? That's hard. So that's the reality we are in. An issue too with manufacturing is these are 20 to 30-year-old equipment. They use this equipment for that long or even longer, mainly because you get tax credits to the stuff works. They're manufacturing. If it works, leave it alone. If it doesn't, we'll fix it. So that's kind of that gives you a highlight of the challenge within the manufacturing. In the vehicles, we have a lot of different systems. You now have cellular in all of that, and the cellular connects to your app. We have data that connects to that. So if you use the Intune app on Toyota, on the App Store, we now have, especially on the newer cars like the 2019 models, a lot of them have cellular connectivity, and being able to secure that's it's kind of a different thing, because if you send data over like AT&T, that's another third party who sees your data. And with CALIA and the way the rules are, or the way the regulations are, the bad guys can even see the data, even if it is encrypted. So you have to find other ways to obscure that data or be able to do things on the edge without sending that kind of sensitive data over. And then we also have the cloud. So we have a lot of Toyota's a cloud-first company. So we've shifted all of our resources, a lot of the applications hosted in the cloud, because it gives us the scalability we need when I have 10 million vehicles on the road. I can't just go have people constantly go into a data farm and adding new servers. So all of these things need to be secure, and they always tie back to the enterprise. And so going to that, they go to the enterprise. So we have to deal with everything from R&D, suppliers, production, delivery, service, financial. Just this past week, we launched in select markets, you're able to buy a car online. You can go to the dealer's website, say, I want that, I'll buy it, just like Amazon. And the thing is that now ties back to the inventory management system, which ties back to the production system. So if you know what you're doing, and if that's not secure, you can now go disrupt production, theoretically. So and that goes through the enterprise. And so this is just kind of what we're saying is we have all these initiatives to improve the hygiene on the vehicle. We hired our vehicle chief engineer. He's the former engineer for Qualcomm. He built all the chips that go into the Qualcomm chips. So he knows all the hardware and what firmware to use to turn on to enable a lot of a really advanced security. We focus on crown jewels. We have a really robust insider threat program. Corporate espionage is very big. We've had over 2 to 3 people who've already been prosecuted for industrial espionage this year alone. So it's something we have to contend with, especially as we move into China. All right. And so shifting more into okay, great, I have this big, robust, enterprise, and it's this big target. How do I keep it secure? So we invest heavily into what we call the Beyond Corp Zero Trust model. And what that means is we do not trust any asset that touches it. And even between assets, so if I have a web app and it's talking to the back end, they don't even trust each other. And so everything has to authenticate and provide who it is. And then even after that authentication, we don't trust it. We see how it interacts with our systems. And if we have any anomaly at all, we prompt it for, give me an MFA, give me a token, verify who you are. Again, I think you're interacting with the system inappropriately. And so we've incorporated that throughout the enterprise through our new applications, especially as they interface with the vehicles and the consumers. We purposely, when you look at the NIST cybersecurity framework, we've purposely focused a little bit less on prevent, and we're heavily in detect and respond. And the reason for that is if you go with a prevent, light on prevent allows us to innovate and have the flexibility. You can do BYOD, and even then, we look at, if you bring your own device, we look at it. Are you up to date on your patches? Do you have an antivirus software on it? I don't care whose it is. Do you have it? We look at all these basic hygienes to make sure that you're up to date. We have DLP turned on, so if you send files even via email through your app, we can track that. If you try to tamper with it, it lets us know right away. We have all these little controls in place that we've engineered on the back end to enable the user to be able to travel wherever, and we still have access to their data. We use AI-based endpoint detection software, so if something does happen where the network goes down, it has a capability to do stuff locally until that time comes when it can get back on the internet. The big piece to this too is what we call the security platform, or the matrix. That is our security analytics platform, and it allows us to detect and to respond to any kind of anomaly or threat within seconds. It's an AWS, and I'll talk more to it. The other big pieces too is with the application security, we shift to a more DevSecOps model, so we're constantly pushing new changes. We shift left security, so we're going to look at at the different, traditionally, you build an app and then at the very end you test it and then say, yep, you're bad, here's all your findings of flaws, go fix it. We're saying, no, let's shift that all left. So literally when the developer is typing in code, it's saying, you just wrote a buffer overflow, here's how you fix it. So then at the time the developer goes to do a code commit, it's already fixed. And then we do scans after that, looking at it from a totality standpoint, so even if a local change, to see how a local change impacts the entire code base. And so yeah, so this just shows if you can fix everything in the requirements phase, it gets cheaper. The closer you get to production, the more expensive it gets. We use a tool called SD Elements that allows us to generate security requirements based on whatever the app is or whatever. So we do that. We have security reviews where we look at architectures, and we have security patterns that I have in place to help guide the application teams for their development. When we get to the development phase, that's when we have the IDE checkers. We have the code commit checkers. And then in the testing phase, that's when we, right when they think they're finished, that's when we bring in the red team, depending on the app, and we'll have the red team go after it, find all the vulnerabilities, and then release it. So when it gets to actual release, it's an actual, any of the vulnerabilities that are left are probably low and not, of no consequence. And so yeah, this just kind of explains out what I just talked about, how traditional Waterfall, we were doing these major releases twice a year, and it just, now with this DevSecOps, we're introducing new changes, and we can push over-the-air updates to vehicles. We were like, how do we ensure that security gets incorporated into that and not just at the end? Because otherwise what was happening is it got to the end, and then my manual pen test request would balloon up, and I don't have that many resources. So shifting to this model allows us to be able to allow the teams work as they are and be able to develop the secure code. And big key here is the automation. The automation, that's the only way you can scale. Toyota, we have over 1,200 apps that we have to manage. And so there's just no way I could have enough people to do all the traditional gate check reviews or manual checks. It would be too much. And so the other side of the house is the cloud security. So we're a cloud-first company, so everything has to go into, we're primarily in AWS. We also do Azure, a little bit of Google. So we're saying, how do we put that in? So what we've done is developed cloud anti-patterns, and we said, this is what you definitely do not do in the cloud, so don't go in and say S3 bucket be exposed to public open. And then we shifted it to more, here's what you should do. So if you want to develop a hybrid architecture with talking back to an on-prem to the cloud, we say, here's how you do it. And here's the API, here's the firewalls, here's how you build your applications securely. And so what's nice about that is we've codified that into Terraform scripts. So literally, if an app team takes our pattern and just tweaks it for their little pieces, they can actually deploy out secure environment within seconds to minutes. And it doesn't have to, you don't have to go in and do any kind of back checks for compliance. However, we do deploy tools to check for compliance because we know not everybody follows the rules. And so the other big thing too that we do, going back to I put some work into prevent. However, my real focus is detect and respond. So in the cloud telemetry layer, we actually integrate to all of the different firewalls that we have. We also integrate into all the applications themselves and take their logs, and we ingest them. So if we do see anything anomalous, it creates an alert. It sends it to our Cyber Fusion Center, who then looks at the data to do some sort of respond action. And finally, with the long term, how we're doing it is, again, we do the Terraform scripting. We look at the secure image. We develop secure images that they can deploy. So for anything in IaaS, or it's infrastructure as a service, where you're deploying like a virtual machine, we have automation in place where you deploy the machine, you get a hardened image, you take that hardened image, or you blow away the current machine, and then you deploy that hardened image on it. And so effectively, I don't ever have to do patching. I just have this fully automated process that constantly updates all of my the back-end infrastructure. And then obviously when you have 1,200 apps in a big company, you got to have some sort of policies. You have to have governance. There's good hygiene. Patching is the must. That's probably the number one thing that, that's probably the number one defense to good engineering and patching. Those are probably the best cyber hygiene you can do for an application. And so finally, that kind of, we harden the environments, and so then we look at the analytics and what I call the Matrix platform. And this is the platform, we were able to build this in 50 days. It's AWS based. It's fully, it's PaaS, platform as a service, so Amazon manages all the back end, they do all the patching, they do all of that fun stuff. We get to just focus on delivering the analytics. What's really neat about it is we have about over 200 terabytes in it. It's about 4 terabytes per day of what we ingest. Which translates to 2.7 billion records. So that's about it has a lot of stuff. So there's no way a human can really look at that. And that's why, again, we have to use machine learning. It's why we use some of the automation pieces. What's interesting with it is we have it segregated by VPC. So we're in over 5 different countries right now with this. We have over 60 data sources. And we actually segregate all of the engineering we put into it to keep this data, because a lot of this data could be very sensitive. It could have customer data, it has PII. So what we've done is a couple things. One is we separate each region by its own VPC. And so what that means is, as TM&A, I can go in and look at each region, but each region can only see themselves. So it gives that exclusivity. So if I take data from like Argentina, who has different regulations than the US, or from Europe, I can legally keep their data where they are, and I can go peer in to see what I need to go do my job, but at the same time stay in compliance. And there's no way, if you hack into like Toyota Motor of Europe, you can't pivot over into our environment. So I get the ability to peer in. There's no way to peer out. So we have that engineered. The other piece that's actually was really clever is from an IAM and key management system, we separated out the roles. So the IAM role, so you get assigned a role, say like developer, and then we took all the Lambda functions that were integrated into this big process, to this big app, and we gave every little app, or Lambda function its own key. It has its own role and its own key. And what that allows us to do is it allows, it follows the principle of least privilege. So the Lambda function could literally only do what it was designed to do. So it could only take the data and then say transform it and then give the data out. And that's the only thing you could do. So if you hack into that Lambda function, literally all you would see is what little piece of data it could grab, transform, and go out. So then you would have to, if you wanted to see the full picture, you would have to go hack down the entire line in order to see the full picture. And then even then, you would have to hack into the key management system, the KMS keys manager, and the IAM in order to figure out how those all would piece together. So, and of course, we put over 200 data alarms, so we have it fully instrumented. So the second somebody does that, we use AWS's Macy. It's a machine learning tool. It alerts in seconds. I mean, right away. When we were actually deploying and testing this tool, our cloud engineering group deployed a Lambda function to do tagging on the data so they could do for billing. The whole system detected it, responded, shut it down, and said, hey, you had an attacker here. Don't worry, we shut it down for you. And so we were able to figure out, and then we traced it back to that team internally, and they said, oh yeah, we agreed not to do this. So it actually was a really good thing because the Lambda function had admin access. So if a hacker would have found that, they could have just loaded whatever they wanted, had a remote code executable on our platform. And so that would have been death to us. But the way we've designed that security is there's no way for it to do anything. And the same thing by using those keys. Only my analysts, when they go in, all they can see is what they're allowed to see. Even if I'm an administrator and I want to change some stuff in there, they can't even see the data. That's not their role. Their role is just to administer the platform. So we have it highly locked down. We have it very secure. It scales beautifully because of leveraging the AWS infrastructure. And so this is kind of the heart and soul to our detection strategy. And so from this, let's see. And so from that platform ingests into our automation. We use Demisto, a tool called Demisto. And what's great about the Demisto is that all those repetitive tasks, so when you get an alert, a tier 1 alert where it's like, okay, this was a suspicious IP from this, and then there's all these little tasks that you go to do to enrich that alert, it will actually do all those tasks for you. It'll go out to virus total, check make sure that file was not malicious or not. If it was malicious, then it probably has to go talk to the endpoint to do a quarantine on it. It'll take care of all those tasks that an analyst is manually doing. And so right now we have it deployed over about 12 different scenarios. We do everything from phishing, our entire phishing campaigns that we get daily. We've automated the whole thing. So outside of the ones, if the ones get through even manually, we have tasks in Demisto where it'll all just auto purge it. So we don't even have analysts really having to do that type of work. Malware, we had a ransom WannaCry often pops into some of the manufacturing sites because when you can't manually change the IP, it's hard to secure it. So WannaCry often hits through, and when it does, the Misto comes in, it detects it, responds it. I mean, typically it won't get beyond 1 or 2 machines. And so, again, having that security analytics platform combined with this automation allows us to detect and respond very, very quickly. The other thing too is we have over 18 connectors, 35 connections, so it can control everything. We could shut down an account. So we've had people who go to like a country that might be on a debarred list, like Iran, and they didn't tell anyone. Well, then we'll shut down their computer the second it geolocates out there. We don't even have to have an analyst come in and say, hey, we saw this alert. What do I do with it? It just happens, and then it says, oh yeah, by the way, we quarantined this person for you. Things like failed login accounts. We do anomalous download activity. We do a lot with insider threat there. The really kind of neat one, I think, is the unpatched host vulnerability. So it will automatically, as it runs a scan and sees that data, it will actually go out and look at all those unpatched ones and schedule regularly scheduled scans. It will also then combine with our threat intel platform to match up any potential CVEs and warn us to any kind of countermeasure. So it actually told us with like their blue keep with the RDP vulnerability, it actually came in and there was a couple of machines we could not patch at all. It would have just brought them down. So it turned on NLA or the network layer authentication. So at least the person would have to authenticate to the environment to then execute the attack. So it just automatically did it. And it was really kind of cool to be able to say, hey, I want to secure my environment based on this. I feed it some information, and then it just takes care of it. And so finally, with metrics, management loves metrics. So you have to look for that. You have to take that into consideration. And so this is kind of just high level. We look at GDR, ISO, all this other stuff that we have to. And then finally, the retrospective, I'll go over. So I talked all about technology, the people and processes, and the people side is our Cyber Fusion Center. So it's like a security operations center, except we have all the different functions grouped together, and they all work together. They all cross-train. Some people, a TDO person could end up running with what they find and then partnering with the incident response. So there's not this, hey, I got my ticket, I did my work, throw it over the fence thing. It's, hey, I got this issue, we're going to go tackle it together. And so it works extremely well. It solves the issue of personnel for recruitment, because if people go, hey, I'm tired of IR, can I go do red team? It's easy, or any of the different tasks. And so what that all combined we had this in earlier this year, APT-32 Ocean Lotus or Cobalt Kitty attacked Toyota Australia and started there. And this platform, the security analytics platform, once we detected it and saw the beacon traffic, we immediately deployed our analytics platform, doing all the log collection. And from there, we were able to see insight into how the entire environment, what it was going on, and so we were able to detect and contain and eradicate. So at the end of the day, this whole platform is designed to detect the nation states, and we want to lock everything down for Toyota so that when you buy a Toyota, you can be assured that it's actually a safe vehicle. And so with that, that's all I have.